guys. I'm here and I wanted to talk to you guys a little about something a little bit different today. Although we know that I've shared with you guys that my videos and vlogs and daily posts will be ranging from one thing to another, from pregnancy to marriage to weddings to things like that. But today I wanted to give you guys a chance to um, know and understand what my experience has been like as a mother and me entering into motherhood once I had my son. I will say that it didn't feel different. Um, as you guys already know, I've been working with kids for over 10 years. And the things that I've done with these kids over the years, it was easy for me to transition into being a mother with using those same things and teaching the same way I did with other people's kids to my own son. It is challenging at times, especially because we don't know what babies want from one minute to the next. It was not as hard when he was a newborn, because we knew that he slept the majority of the time, and when he woke up, he needed a diaper change, and he needed to be fed, and he needed to be played with, and then he was back to sleep. That was easy. Um, However, now that he's moved into toddlerhood, it has its challenges. Like one day we'll have days where Kai will be like the best baby in the world. And, we were like, oh, okay, in the beginning we were like, this is normal. Our kid's a great kid. No kid's a horrible kid. And so as he moves further into, a 2-year old or 1.5-year old, it's getting harder, especially considering he's got things going on like teething. You know, he's dealt with, he had a couple earaches, and he's had, colds and, just things like that. And we didn't know how to read those cues. I mean, we knew something was wrong, but we didn't know what to do as far as comfort when we've done everything in the book. You have that kid that's crying, so you're like, okay, well, your diaper needs to be changed. Great, let's change your diaper. You change the diaper, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe you're hungry. Let's feed you. We feed, you feed them, and then you're like, okay, you're still crying. Let's figure out what's going on. Okay, let's play a little bit. Okay, well, you need a nap. Okay, let's go take a nap. And then you take a nap, and then they're still crying. And then you're like, okay, what is wrong? It's those moments where I believe Kelvin and myself have gotten really frustrated, and had no idea what to do. Yes, I work with kids, but I haven't had the pleasure of working with them one on one, because when you work in a daycare or a child care center, things are on a schedule. So these kids fall in line with what's on the schedule and what's required of them from one transition to the next. And so you don't get to see that side of them, unless they're really sick. And then you check a temperature and you're like, okay, well, you don't feel well, you don't look well, you're just not your normal self. Let's call your parents. But when it's your own child, it is very, very hard to determine what could be wrong when you've went through the whole checklist. Um, and these are some of the things that I'm learning. Like I can tell when Kai's getting a fever, because he'll get like this body temperature that's warm, but when you check his temperature, he doesn't have a temp. And so, like I told you guys, he's had a fever from Wednesday to Saturday afternoon. And Wednesday came around, and I was like, okay, well, you're really clingy. What is going on? I didn't pick up on that. I was like, okay, well, you're just clingy because it's mommy and daddy all the time, and you go to daycare, a few days a week, and you're with your cousins and stuff. So I was like, okay, you just, tired or whatever the case. But then his body temperature got warm, and I'm like, okay, something is up. And then I just started automatically giving him the Tylenol and ibuprofen and alternating the two, because I was like, if he's got a fever coming, I want to beat it. And so sure enough, that next day, overnight, he woke up, his cheeks were red, and he had a full on fever of 101. And so it's things like that we know for sure something's up. But when we get those days, like we have those days where we absolutely do not know what is wrong, and we have to let him cry it out because we don't understand. He doesn't want us to hold him. He doesn't want to be put down. We pick him up, he wants to get down. We pick him up, he wants to get down. We put him down, he wants to get picked up. So it's things like that, so we'll go through the cool bath even. We'll try cool bath, take him outside, play with him, read to him. things like that. And it just, nothing ever works. We have those days and it is very hard. And so it's even harder when you have to sit and listen to them cry until they figure it out. And so what we started to do in the beginning of his going into one, we would just put him in his crib and walk away, because we're like, okay, well, we don't know what else to do for you. You just probably need your moment. And sure enough, it would be that time where he wanted to just be, I guess, have his moment to himself. And he didn't want to be bothered. And so we did that, and he'd cry, and it would be fine. He'd be fine after that. And we're like, okay, well, we guess you needed your moment. But my experience as for in motherhood, it's been challenging, but I've been able to deal with it. I've had way more frustrations working with other people's kids. So when my son's frustrations come, or I can't figure out what's going on with him, I know how to narrow down my options, and then, if nothing comes, just deal with it. Kelvin, on the other hand, Kelvin doesn't have any work experience with children. He actually has a career of warehouse work. And so he's had the pleasure of riding around a machine for the last 15 plus years. And I've had the experience of sitting in a classroom with 14 1 to 2 year olds for the last 10 to 15 years. And so I'm like, I know everything about a child, and I can almost find the cure for everything. But then when you go to Kelvin with it, he's like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Or, babe, what do you think? So it's like, if you go to him with warehouse work, he understands. He can have a conversation with you. But with me and kids, it's like with him, it has to come to me. So, it was hard for him to adjust to me, to feeling like I knew everything. But it was as time went on, it was easier for him to accept that, what, maybe she does know, a little bit more about, kids than I would, and maybe I should listen to her. Maybe she is right, and things like that. And there's times where he looked things up and was like, okay, well, fine, yeah, you were right, And so for him, I think it's more of a challenge because he didn't grow up with kids around him as much as I did, or have the experience of working with kids as much as I do. And so it was harder for him and he never got frustrated with Kai. Never got frustrated. He just wanted to soothe him and please him and figure out what was wrong. He was daddy, so he felt like it was his job to, be there for Kai and do everything and run in circles until he figure out what's wrong. He still does that now, but you know, Kai knows who to play the parts with. He knows if I cry when Daddy sits down, Daddy will stand back up with me. If I cry when Mommy sits down, I'm just going to be crying because Mommy's not. So we're working our way through teaching Daddy how to, making Kai accept the fact that he can get down and go play, or he's fine, or just talking to him about things. And so for us, I think it's been easy for the most part. I'm adjusted to the no sleep. I've adjusted to the coffee life. Not right now because I'm pregnant again, and so it's things like that that we have to challenge. And then also with that, you learn your child, and you learn new things when you're doing all of these things. It might seem frustrated in the moment, but then afterwards you're like, you know what, that really wasn't that bad. And I also learned that now when this happens, I know what to do the next time. So you find those cues and you know what to do. And so we've just been working it as it comes. Like I said, right now he's been teething. I think today's the first day that he might actually pan out from it. But it was hard this last week trying to figure out what, Kai completely stopped eating meat. And I think that's because either it's too hard on his gums right now. Like, the chicken and, strips of chicken and torn up shredded chicken and stuff. It's not that hard, but he doesn't feel like he wants to, you know, fight to chew it, but he'll eat carrots and peas and green beans and rice and mashed potatoes, all the soft stuff. And that was something I learned. I was like, oh, okay, well maybe he don't want to eat the meat, the chicken or the meatballs or the steak because it's too much on his gums. It's still really sore. And so, I was able to adjust to that. I'm like, okay, so we're just gonna start feeding you with no meat, and then maybe next week we'll try it again and see how it works out. And so, it's this is good. I'm enjoying motherhood. It has had its challenges, and I can't say I regret any of it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the life will be like with two babies, a 1.5 year old and then a newborn when the baby comes in February. And so it's all those things, not wanting, Kai to sleep in his own room because, we have to feel like we have to watch him all night and make sure he's okay. And, you know, finally giving up and saying, you know what, okay, maybe you need to be sleeping in your own crib right now, at this point. And so we made all those adjustments, putting him in his crib, having him sleep, sleeping in his crib but in our room. And then we're slowly going to try to transition him to his own room. We're still afraid of that right now because of the fact that his bedroom is next to the front door. And so the way our apartment is set up, it's kind of weird. And so I really don't trust that right now. We're going to try it once the new baby comes and maybe see if he feels better, in his room because there's another baby in there or there's his sister or brother in there. And we'll go from there. But we really don't know. It's going to be another transition, another learning moment, another teachable moment, So all of these things we're adjusting to. And so if you guys have any ideas on what we could do, if we're doing, if you guys feel like there's something we could do to better the situation, if all of this, we know that with motherhood there's no book. There's no book that tells you how to raise kids, how to be a mother. We've all made mistakes. We've all done, good things that we thought and then it turned out to be bad things. We've all done horrible things, but it actually turned out to work. And so all these things have been, I have to say, amazing. Like, I don't regret being a mom at all. Like, there's days I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sleepy. And then there's some days I'm like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go for the day. But then I crash by the time Kai crashes at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But, it's all of these moments that we look forward to. I wake up and I look forward to, what is this day going to bring? What is Kai going to send me today? What are we going to do today? And so I love it. I believe Kelvin loves it. I'm sure he loves it. He looks forward to seeing Kai when he gets home from work. He's sad when he has to leave Kai to go to work, and so, give us you guys feedback. Please let us know how you guys, have done it with your own kids, and, your story is interesting. Maybe just as well as my story could be interesting. And yeah, so today's vlog is my experiences as a mother and motherhood. And so, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys tomorrow.